In the golden glow of the setting sun, high atop a branch of the ancient oak of echoes, nestled a family of wise and watchful owls. Among them, the smallest of the brood, a baby owl no taller than a pinnacone, with feathers as fluffy as marshmallows and wings as yet unpracticed, he was known simply as Pip. As dusk painted the sky with hues of lavender and the first stars began to gleam, Pip would cling to the edge of their cozy nest, his wide eyes reflecting the night sky, while his siblings would swoop and soar. Practicing the art of flight, Pip would watch from above, his heart filled with a longing to join them, but his wings tied with the cords of fear. You see, Pip was afraid of heights. Every time he closed his eyes, he imagined himself plummeting towards the ground, the wind snatching his feathers away one by one. So night after night, he stayed in the nest, finding solace in the stories carried by the evening breeze and the twinkling tales told by the stars. He loved listening to the forest gossip, the rustle of leaves sharing secrets, the babble of brooks whispering of adventures, and the hoot of distant owls echoing their ancient wisdom. To Pip, the world below seemed so impossibly far, a dizzying drop into the unknown. But one night, as the moon bathed the forest in its silvery glow, a sudden gust of wind shook the old oak tree, and before Pip could react, a twig snapped under his weight. With a startled hoot, he tumbled through the branches, falling until he landed with a soft plop in a patch of moss many miles from his nest. As the wind died down and silence descended, Pip felt a growing panic within him. The comforting hoots of his family were replaced by unfamiliar sounds, the snapping of twigs, the distant howl of wolves. Fear tightened its grip around his heart. Squeezing out any sound, his tiny voice trembled as he called out for help, but his mother's familiar voice was faint, lost in the rushing river far below. All around him, shadows danced in the moonlight, and Pip couldn't help but feel utterly alone. Then, as if drawn by his cries, a plump river otter, with whiskers twitching and eyes bright with curiosity, slid down a mossy rock. It was Tycho, a kind soul known for his quick wit and even quicker paws. When he saw the shivering form of the baby owl, his gruff exterior melted away, replaced by a warmth that belied his tough demeanor. "Well, little fluffball," he said with a grin, "you're a long way from your moon perch." Pip looked up, his voice quivering. I can't fly. My wings are just ... twigs." Tycho let out an exaggerated groan. "Of course they are. What am I? Some sort of hero?" Then, noticing the distressed look on the little owl's face, his heart softened. All right, maybe I can help. But then you gotta teach me how to fish in the air. Deal." Pip nodded eagerly, his spirits lifting a bit. And so Tycho, the gruff but gentle otter, began his ascent up the rough bark of the ancient oak. Now, climbing trees was not Tycho's forte. In fact, ever since his younger sibling had been taken by a hawk from a ledge just like this one, he'd avoided trees with a deep-rooted fear. But for this little fluffball, for Pip, Tycho pushed through the fear, inching higher and higher. The journey was fraught with peril. Bark slipped beneath Tycho's paws. Once he muttered, note to self, invest in tri-climbing boots. And every creak of the old oak sent shivers down his spine. All the while, Pip clung to his back, his tiny claws digging into Tycho's fur. "What if we fall?" he cried out, his voice trembling. Tycho steadied them with a reassuring grunt. "Then we'll bounce," he said. "Otters are professionals." But even as he said it, he knew the truth. If they fell, the fall would be anything but bouncy. Slowly, they ascended, the moon peeking through the leaves to witness their struggle. Just as they reached the halfway point, Tycho suddenly stopped, his breath catching in his throat. He confessed his fear, his voice hoarse with emotion. Pip, the little owl who understood more than he could say, listened with wide, empathetic eyes. And when Tycho finished, he whispered, "Maybe we can be brave together." And, as if inspired by the little owl's innocent courage, Tycho gathered his resolve, shaking off his fear, or at least trying to. Finally, they reached the top. And there in the distance, Pip's mother hooted, her silhouette framed against the moonlit sky. Relief flooded Pip as he scrambled towards his family, his mother enveloping him in a flurry of feathers and relieved hoots. Tycho watched them for a moment, a bittersweet smile on his whiskered face. Then, as Pip's mother turned to him, she bowed her head, a silent gesture of gratitude. Before she disappeared into the darkness of the tree, she had shown him the deepest respect an owl could give. But Pip refused to let Tycho go. He climbed onto the otter's back, nuzzling his whiskered cheek. Tycho rumbled, his gruff voice softening. "You're all right, kid. But next time, maybe stay in the nest." And with that, the unlikely duo, an otter and an owl, became fast friends under the watchful gaze of the moon. As the sun began its slow ascent and the forest stirred with the promise of a new day, Tycho dozed off beside the river, the memory of the little owl who dared to dream of flying, who had taught him that sometimes the greatest adventures begin with a leap of faith.